which talks about in clause 59 to replace that which has been amended.
Hallelujah, brother.
I call Brett Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an absolute pleasure to follow on from my colleague, Mr Naro. A few minutes ago, I was listening to the longest 5 minutes of my life where Mr O'Connor was speaking. I thought to myself, I really want to describe that as a triumph of form over substance. But quite frankly, that form is so derelict, not even a panel beater could knock it into shape. Followed on, though, by then the Minister who made a comment, he's talking about subpart 9A, where I will spend most of my contribution on. Subpart 9A to my colleague's suggested supplementary order paper about making it a bit more universal. He said it's not policy neutral, we can't support that. Well, how, Minister, is the inclusion of subpart 9A anything but policy not neutral? How can you describe the inclusion of that subpart as policy neutral in the first place? It appears that it's very selective policy neutrality that you're looking for. I also wanted to talk, Madam Chair, about Dr Russell's contribution of now some time ago. And she introduced in her contribution this idea of universality and how the former national government didn't care about all older New Zealanders. And because she introduced it, I just want to take a couple of moments to address how wrong she is on this. You see, the national government had introduced a tax package that would have seen every superannuitant better off each week. And they're better off through the linkage of superannuation to after-tax average wage. So the superannuitants would have been off in year one pretty much the same as the winter energy payment. But here's the real difference and the real kicker. Because superannuation is linked to the net after-tax average wage, as average wages increase, so too would that superannuation increase have further increased. So it would have gone up. And a good government, such as the national government, with its focus on economic prosperity and well-being for all, would have ensured that incomes continue to rise faster than inflation, so superannuitants would have been better off. Well, this change that this new government has put in place, from what I can see, they say it's universal, it's universally poorer, because it doesn't even appear to be linked to inflation. So it won't go up over time, Madam Chair, it will go back over time. And with the spending and borrowing plans of this government, inflation's going to be rising much faster than it would have done under National. So the erosion of the value of the winter energy payment will be so much faster. There is simply no way a claim can be made that the universality of this subpart 9A makes elderly New Zealanders better off than they would have been if this government had kept the tax package that we had legislated when we were in government. It simply is not the case. But let's talk a little more on 9A, Madam Chair, because an earlier speaker regaled us with her tale of living in a colder part of New Zealand in an old villa that wasn't insulated and having to freeze, and eventually because she was able to afford it, she was able to insulate the home and it got a little bit better. And then that actually helps to crystallise another fundamental flaw in subpart 9A. And it actually reflects, Madam Chair, the two very different philosophies of the left and the right when it comes to helping people who are less advantaged or more vulnerable. Because while they will give a little bit of money that will erode with inflation over time to help people pay some bills, they don't actually help them solve the problem. Because the problem is the home is cold. And therefore, to solve the problem, you'd help them insulate it. Because if you can help them insulate the home, then the energy bills are going to come down naturally. But there's nothing in 9A that really helps that, because they get a fortnightly payment that will let them pay a little bit towards the bill today, but does nothing to help them actually afford the works that would help to make the home cheaper to heat and, in fact, needing less heat. So where, if this is a party that, if the government supposedly is made up of parties that truly care for the less advantaged in New Zealand, where is the actual means here to give them long-term help? It doesn't exist. But it does exist, Madam Chair, in the SOP that I've tabled under my name this evening, which I'd now like to move on to. This SOP would give New Zealanders receiving the winter energy payment the ability to, in effect, take a payment as an annual payment rather than a fortnightly payment, and they could then use that lump sum to improve the insulation in that home. Madam Chair, it is focused on giving them the ability, the financial means, to lift themselves out of the current state of that insulation. Madam Chair. It gives them the opportunity then, the means, Madam Chair, to actually make improvements to the home, to add some insulation that will then help to decrease their winter energy bills, therefore actually making them less reliant on any form of financial assistance. So why? Why does a government that claims to care for all New Zealanders, and particularly the disadvantaged, why does it not offer them the means to get themselves out of the situation they find themselves in? No, it takes a government that, a former government, a party that actually cares about the underlying problems and the drivers of disadvantage, the causes and the real problems, and being prepared to actually make change to address and fix those. It takes a party that's prepared to take that view, to come up with an idea that says, OK, you may need some help, so let's help you get out of the situation you're in, instead of just a little bit of money that'll keep you where you are and, quite frankly, Madam Chair, perpetuate the misery that one is in. So this SOP, Madam Chair, very simply would change the purpose of subpart 9A to mean that it would also provide financial assistance to help certain people meet their heating needs during winter period by providing for additional home insulation or new heating sources. And it affects that in two clauses. And clause 65E in the winter payment instalment rates and payment would insert new clause 65E1C. If the person is nominated in a form and manner approved by the Chief Executive to use their winter energy payment for additional home insulation or heating sources in one annual instalment, given all of the benefit of the payment they would otherwise receive to use to improve the insulation of that home. And then in a subsequent clause, it just ensures that they don't lose any of that through the calculations. Madam Chair, it is a simple but effective way of actually looking to help New Zealanders who might be in some financial difficulty, who today might find they have challenges in paying for the heating of their home, but under the government's plan would find themselves in the same situation every week and absolutely reliant on the small amount of money that they want to give them, the amount of money which, as I have pointed out, Madam Chair, inflation will erode away over time, in a very short period of time, quite frankly, with the lack of economic plan that government actually has, but which nonetheless would erode over time, therefore be in a position, less of a position, to be able to help them meet those continuing energy heating costs. But instead, Madam Chair, in effect, if I think of a former party in this House, United Future, they called the idea of capitalising family subsidies. Well, in a sense, it's a little bit like that, where you can get the annual amount in one advance payment and then use it in a substantial and meaningful way to make improvements to the home that will make you, one, warmer now and with lower heating costs into the future. It is a simple SOP that actually seeks to solve a problem instead of merely placing an insufficient band-aid and claiming that one somehow cares deeply about a group, but the actions of which show they care more about what they say rather than the effects of what they do. If this government has, in my personal opinion, Madam Chair, a soul, they will agree to support this SOP because they will acknowledge that it actually provides a better long-term solution for those people with winter energy payment issues today. And so I call upon the Minister and the Chair to explain to us, if they won't support it, why they want to perpetuate people's misery instead of actually solving it, why they want the value of their subsidy, their benefit, to erode in their winter energy payment because it's not inflation indexed. Why would they do that when they could simply support this doesn't involve spending any more extra money, just paying it in a way that allows people to make the best possible use of the state assistance that they've already agreed to offer, and in doing so they help people to lift themselves out of the positions they're in today so they are better off tomorrow.
I call Jan Logie.
Thank you, Madam Chair.